Well, hey,
Yeah.
let's drill down a little bit because you
Yeah.
mentioned, you're specialists, you specialize in the gut. I want to talk
Mhm.
about that a lot, the gut and the
Mhm.
brain and that combination. Your average person listening, probably heard a little bit about drinking a kombucha or,
Mhm.
maybe eating sauerkraut or something for
Mhm.
some biodiversity or taking a probiotic. But really, like, why is the gut biome so important for overall health? Like, what is that thing, especially for people that
Yep.
are laymen, but especially as it relates to the brain? Why is it so
Mhm.
important?
Yeah, for sure. So we're our microbiome, like we're made up of more bacteria than we are human cells. So there's a lot of like crosstalk that goes on between that bacteria and our brain. And it will tell us, hey, I want sugar, I want to grow, I want to multiply, I want, so there's good bacteria, and then we'll just call it bad bacteria, but it's pathogenic bacteria. And these things kind of fight for a parking spot in your gut. And so if
Mm,
all your parking spots in your gut are taken up with this pathogenic bacteria, that's caused a lot of times from eating sugar, eating processed foods, stress, like all these different things break down the gut and only leave room for this pathogenic bacteria to grow. So all of that, they call the gut the second brain. And so a lot of times, and not a lot of times, God made us so that our neurotransmitters, the things that control our mood and the way we sleep and wake up, and our even our motivation and
hmm
joy, more we'll say happiness than joy, but like
Yeah.
that all is made in the gut. And so in even our hormones, and our immune system is 80% in the gut. And
Mm.
so if we're not taking care of the gut, then there's breakdown in all these other systems. And kind of what got me into the gut and being so excited about the gut
Yeah.
is working as an occupational therapist. I worked with people after traumatic brain injury and stroke, and kids with autism and cerebral palsy, and all these neurological issues. And we realized that when these kids with autism ate a nice, whole, clean diet without casein, which is in dairy, and gluten, then their behavior started changing. And so there's just this strong connection. There's also a strong connection between mental health and the gut, of course. And so when there's breakdown in the gut, there's breakdown in the brain. And I would say, 90% of the patients that I see have anxiety and depression. It's just super common. Of course, that's circumstantial, environmental, all of that. But almost all of these people have breakdown in the gut. And
Wow.
so we know that they are strongly connected. So if we can heal the gut, we can heal the brain. And there's some big food triggers. There's a lot of triggers for breakdown in the gut. And so you'll hear the term like leaky gut.
Yeah.
Most Americans have a leaky gut. And
Mm,
so people will come to me and I'll be like, okay, you're showing all of these symptoms. They actually are all coming from the gut. So let's work on healing the gut so that you can, your hormones can be more balanced, your immune system can be more resilient, and your brain can feel better. There won't be so much like fire, like so much inflammation. Inflammation is
mm,
such a big thing. There's so many
mm,
things in our environment that are causing inflammation, and
mm,
they're physical and also emotional, all these different toxins that are causing that breakdown in the gut, and then
mhm.
there's breakdown in the brain. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Wow.
that's opening up a big old, yeah, there, I mean, the gut's
Yes.
pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, my goodness. I mean, to think about so many of the different neurological dysfunctions. I mean, even thinking, I'd be curious to know your thoughts on, Alzheimer's and dementia and some of these different things, maybe traumatic brain injuries,
Yes.
and how those might be, remedied or helped or aided through working on the gut. But you
Yeah.
mentioned leaky gut too. I mean,
Yeah.
as really common problem as you mentioned. What is leaky gut?
Yeah. So your gut is made up of like these tight junctions typically. So your gut is supposed to be this really nice enclosed system that nothing goes out and nothing comes in. Everything should happen just staying in the gut. You absorb nutrients and you can utilize that, but with leaky gut, those tight junctions, they pull apart. And then a lot of the foods that you're eating, they're actually leaking out into the gut. So those
Oh boy.
proteins and different food particles, they leak out into the bloodstream, and your immune system goes, oh no, like these are not supposed to be here. So we're going to develop armies to try to fight them off so that, we can protect your body because they're foreign. They're not supposed to be there. So then your immune system gets super fatigued because it's really busy fighting off all these things that are leaking through the gut. And then also toxins can come in as well. And then you stop like absorbing nutrients the way you need to. So a lot of people just have a lot of nutrient depletion, and then causes changes in the brain too. So
Wow.
yeah, a lot of people have leaky gut. And even as you talk about like traumatic brain injury or post concussion, like
Mhm.
instantly, the microbiome changes when you hit your head. So they've done studies to show
Wow.
like it completely changes like the minute you hit your head. And so we know that there's just such a strong connection there. So decreasing some of that inflammation. There's a lot of cool research about, post concussion and how you can support the gut and support the brain post concussion. So,
Wow.
as a football player, that's the whole concussion studies and
Big deal.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
very big deal. Yeah, lots, billions
Yeah.
and billions of dollars on the line as a
Hmm.
result of a lot of the studies they're talking about here. But
Yeah.
sounds like it goes both ways, right? So
Hmm.
the gut can affect the
Yep.
brain, and the brain with it in the form of a TBI might affect the gut.
Hmm.
When it comes
Yep.
to the former, what is it? Is it something people are eating that's generally causing leaky gut? Like,
Yeah.
what is
Yeah.
causing this for so many Americans?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of food additives, for sure, like food dyes, food coloring for sure is a big one. But also any of those processed
Mhm.
foods, sugar is a huge, I mean, when you talk about Alzheimer's, dementia, now the studies are saying if you make it to age 80, you have an 80% chance of developing Alzheimer's disease. And that is because
Wow.
of insulin resistance and issues with sugar. Our standard American diet has like a crazy amount of sugar in it. And they put it in everything. They put it
Right.
in tomato sauce. I mean, you look and you're like, what? Why did this need sugar? And I have my clients go look at all their labels. Like it's pretty profound when they're like, wow. When I tell them like you can handle about 5 grams of sugar, that's about it.
Mhm.
Anything above that, your pancreas has to work that much harder to, produce insulin.
You
And
said
five
5
grams,
grams of sugar?
5 grams is hard to do. So we
Yeah.
know that just that sugar is causing inflammation. It's causing they're calling Alzheimer's more of like a type 3 diabetes now.
Mhm.
And that's what's causing, all this huge uptick in Alzheimer's dementia. So taking care of the gut, but taking care of what you're eating, decreasing inflammation in the gut is going to decrease inflammation in the brain. So it's,
Wow. So
yeah, it's pretty
so
fascinating.
diet related, it sounds so if so it's correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm hearing
Yeah.
there's all these different dietary, you've got these additives, you got maybe
Yeah.
all these different, junk oils, but especially
Yep.
you have these sugars, like just
Hmm.
an overabundance of sugar, which
Yep.
triggers inflammation
Hmm.
and harms the gut biome and
Hmm.
then triggers brain issues, which
Yep.
maybe, you could talk about whether or not it's brain inflammation, different things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Dr. David Perlmutter wrote that book, Brain Maker, and
Yep.
you learning some of that, that connection is fascinating. But how the heck can an American get through just living their lives with only eating 5 grams of sugar? I mean, you pick up
Yeah.
every little granola bar, every little
Yeah.
snack thing, it's got 5, 10, 40 grams of sugar in it.
I
What am
know.
I supposed to do as an American? Should I just say
Take
whatever I'm going to
small
get?
steps at a time. Like I teach
Yeah.
people like you have to just work through one thing at a time. because it's super overwhelming. And when you go into a grocery store, even, the food labels, they make it look so good. Like, the food industry does such, like, they study the science. They study to know, like, when you eat this, it's going to light up this part of your brain and you're going to want more. And
Mm,
so, people became more and more aware of like high fructose corn syrup. So they were like, okay, I won't eat it with high fructose corn syrup. Well, now it's just mass in different ways. But
yeah.
there's so many things that people are eating that their brain is turning on. It's doing the same thing as, you know, heroin. Like it's crazy to see the brain light up. So I tell people like you got to take just small steps, pick one thing, and like when you walk into a grocery store, just stay on the perimeter. Like don't even go down the
Yeah.
aisles, like eating whole foods and eating diverse foods is a huge deal. So I tell people like pick 5 different vegetables and throughout the week and just try to incorporate those. Pick, 3 to 4 different types of protein. This is kind of your equation. Like, here's your 4 different kinds of proteins. Here's all of your colorful vegetables. Now put them together one by one, and you've got like 20 different meals. So it's
Yeah.
just trying to like make those combinations of thinking, how did God make this food and keep it that way instead of now the food industry's just, changed everything, genetically modified things. So go
Hmm.
back to how did this grow? How did this, could I go out and I tell people too, like if you do look at a label and you can't make it with if you couldn't remake what's in that box or can or packaging by looking at the ingredients, then you probably shouldn't eat it.
That's
So
great advice.